no time for fake jacks. The brother that fake jacks can link it on exact. No time for fake jacks, no time for fake jacks. The brother that fake jacks can link it on exact. No time for fake jacks, no time for fake jacks. The brother that fake jacks can link it on exact. No time for fake jacks.
You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.
So one of the first really good interviews that I had a chance to do on this show was with Carlin Alford of Nashville, Tennessee. He told a really great story about his life and his experience playing several sports and his experience being delivered from cancer and the many things that he's gone on to do. He's currently the owner of a semi-pro basketball team, the Middle Tennessee Storm, which has been very successful. But also he's settled into a role at the local Seventh-day Adventist Academy. Well, I believe that's referred to as a prep school, so I want to be careful. F.H. Jenkins, and he is actually the athletic director at F.H. Jenkins. Carlin has done some awesome work and really is working behind the scenes at F.H. Jenkins, which is near and dear to me. My membership is actually at Riverside in Nashville, Tennessee, so my offering and tithe actually go to help South Central Conference, and I'm sure some portion of it, when it's all divvied up, goes to F.H. Jenkins. Carlin's been there on the ground. He's brought in a new coaching staff. He's established several new sports programs. He's really doing an excellent job with the leadership and kind of changing the face of F.H. Jenkins. So I want to bring him back on the show to talk specifically about how the Lord has used him and some of the great things that are going on in Nashville. What's going on, Carlin?
Hey, oh man, good to be back.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you back. So what's going on, man? Tell us about these new developments. You guys are making some literally some national news here.
Well, it is an exciting time for our school, and I have to start off by talking about why I'm there. First of all, my son is a second grader there, and he's going into his fourth year. He started off in pre-K there, and I was asked to be a part of the school board when one of the members of our church stepped down, and I decided, that with my dedication to Seventh-day Adventist Christian education, and in this particular one, a regional setting, that it was a good opportunity for me to try and make contributions to make it the best school possible for my son and eventually my daughter who will be in there. So that's kind of, how I started. And then a good friend of mine who was really over the athletics, one of the teachers there, Autumn Washington, she really needed to focus on finishing her doctorate and asked me if I would kind of step in the role of athletic director and on a volunteer basis 2 years ago. And since I was already on the school board, I consented, and we decided to build a program rather than to just offer sports. And that's what we've been doing. So we've been a part for the last 4 years of the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference, which is an athletic conference dedicated to providing structure for athletics for private schools, homeschool groups. So most of the schools that are in that conference have money, like real money. One of the schools that's in the conference actually has an equestrian center for for their students. And so, but it's been a blessing to be in it because it gives us a postseason tournament to play for, gives us rules and regulations to follow, and it gives us schools to play against. And it's been like I said, a blessing, and it's been fun as well. So they offer a number of sports, and because of our size of our enrollment, some sports we do, some sports we don't, but we've mostly, basketball has been a staple, but girls middle school volleyball has been good for us. We added cross country this year for the first time on almost a dare, and we decided to do it as a test, 4 races. And in doing so, half of our kids qualified for the championships. And one of our kids who had just started running, had never run an official race before, made second team all conference in middle school. It's actually the pastor's son, Pastor Fordham's son in Riverside, Pax Fordham. And so we've got a flying start to an actual cross-country program next year, and we've got hardware. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say one of those kids was my son, who ended up being a top 50 runner. There's hundreds of kids that run in these meets, and we had 5 or 6 that qualified in the top 50 of their age groups. So it was a tremendous thing, and like I said, our girls volleyball team has really been improving. And then we had a running start into basketball, which we reconfigured everything, and that has exploded for us.
So let me kind of jump in real quick. Give those that listen to my show, give us a bit of a synopsis of F.H. Jenkins. How long has the school been entrenched in Nashville? What is the enrollment? What is the size that it is now? How big has it been in the past? What are some of the churches that are constituents of that specific school?
Certainly. F.H. Jenkins Preparatory School, formerly F.H. Jenkins Elementary School, has been in the Nashville community for 106 years. It is the school that is supported by 3 constituent churches and another 4th as a member church. Those churches are Riverside Chapel SDA Church, Hillcrest SDA Church, New Life SDA Church, and then the 4th as a support is South Nashville SDA Church. And it used to be that most of the kids that were enrolled at the school came from those churches. There were years where the enrollment was north of 200. This year, we were in a rebuilding mode, and we were in a critical situation where we started off with 26. I do believe that, since school has started, we're up to 30, and that number's going to climb. A lot of what we're doing with our sports program is designed to bring attention and bring kids to the school, as we are allowing kids under the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference rules to be able to play for our school who don't attend. And that may be based on if they're homeschooled or tried out for their school team and didn't make it, or they may not be able to pay for the school team because of religious beliefs, i.e. being able to, not being able to play on the Sabbath. That has given us some flexibility to bring kids in, and what we decided to do is turn that into a recruiting tool. And that has been tremendous for us, and we're seeing benefits already of parents who are really dedicated to our sports program and going, you know what, taking a look at the school. It's the oldest historically Black primary institution of learning in the state of Tennessee, and that is very appealing to progressive African-American parents who want a Christian setting for their kids.
So really, actually, this is outstanding because you're using sports to help rebuild. I know F.H. Jenkins is going through a rebuilding mode, and I know that with the leadership like yourself, the new principal, Summer Wood, long-standing teachers like Autumn Washington, Pastor Fordham, Furman Fordham being the board chair, I know that F.H. Jenkins is definitely trending upward, and you have a very awesome superintendent of South Central Conference schools that has an extremely handsome and articulate son named Sharon Lewis. So I know the leadership is in place for you guys to be successful, but using sports as an avenue to actually grow the school enrollment, actually to get exposure to the school, is something that's relatively foreign in the Adventist realm. So I applaud you on kind of being a pioneer and a trailblazer in really looking at things and putting them in a different focus and different perspective. Kind of transitioning, you talked about the F.H. Jenkins Flames basketball program. I want you to, A, give me props on my show for knowing who your new coach is. of the basketball teams, and B, explain to my audience who the coach is and what their background is and why that's so important and kind of a groundbreaking moment for Adventist institutions?
Well, first of all, let's say that when I said that we were reconfiguring our basketball program, we used to have one coach for all of our teams, whether we had a girls team that year or a middle school boys team. We have 4 teams at F.H. Jenkins. Pee-wee, which is K through 2nd, our elementary school, which is 3 through 5, and then our middle school boys, which is 6, 7, and 8, and then our middle school girls, which in some cases can even include a 5th grade girl here or there just due to the size of our enrollment. And rather than have one coach, I felt like it was necessary for us to focus on developing our kids and teaching them the game of basketball, and that's very hard to do with just one coach.
Sure.
And so what we wanted to do is put a skills group together to be able to teach the individual skills, and then have the separate coaches coach the game day, and then cross train our coaches to be able to coach anything from Pee-wee up to middle school, with one coach kind of leading the way in instituting our offensive philosophy and defensive philosophy. And so we appointed a coach just before the season, and his name is Dante Jones. And Dante is a former Mississippi State Bulldog. I forget the year. I want to say it was 96, 97, where he took the Mississippi State Bulldogs to the Final Four that year. I think they lost to UConn. If you Google Dante, there's a picture of him dunking on Ray Allen in the Final Four. He was MVP of the SEC tournament that year. They ousted Kentucky. That year they had Ron Mercer and a few other guys that ended up in the NBA. And then he was later drafted by the New York Knicks, played with the Celtics and a few other folks, and had a lengthy career overseas. And then about 3-4 years ago, started the Nashville Youth Basketball Association, which teaches basketball to inner city youth in Nashville, and has about anywhere from 150 to 175 kids every Sunday at McGavick High School that goes through his skills clinic. And our kids are actually a part of that as part of our deal, getting individual training. And so his contacts, his profile has helped our basketball program, and all of our coaches, including Corey Bean, who coaches the Riverside Raiders in the South Central Conference. He coaches our elementary school team. Keisha Knight, April Lee, and Christy Singletary all coach our girls. And David Mosley coaches our Pee-wee, and I oversee, as the athletic director, kind of the whole basketball program and kind of fill in where needed. So we all work really, really well together. We have a great coaching staff. Dante brings not just his NBA experience, but working with so many youth and helping them make their high school and middle school teams. And he's just dedicated to F.H. Jenkins, and was literally born on the grounds of F.H. Jenkins. His mom was Jehovah's Witness, and he's not shy to say that she got pregnant when she was 18. And the sanitarium, which is, you've seen right there on the grounds of F.H. Jenkins, was a hospital that she was able to have him at. So when he came after we appointed him, he said, I was actually born here. And this has given me full circle to come back. It's a pretty neat story. And he's touched by it and completely, energized by not just contributing to the program, but contributing to the school. And Dr. Wood has just been, the principal has just been 100% behind this. And, the community has gotten behind it. Now we're getting attention that we normally wouldn't have gotten, reaching kids that we normally wouldn't have reached. And it's pretty exciting. And not only that, we took, kids that wouldn't necessarily be called, a strong ball team just yet, and we won on opening night, boys and girls, against an established team from Clarksville Christian Academy. So it's been a pretty emotional few weeks, and we already have a winning record. And we're far ahead of the curve where we thought we would be.
Well, it's just, like I said, I don't like to use too many superlatives, but I really think it's groundbreaking. It's kind of to close with the last comment as we close this segment out. What would you say, Carlin, is the importance, not just to name drop and say that, hey, we have a former NBA professional athlete coaching at F.H. Jenkins. But what's the importance of merging? You know that my show is about sports talk and ministry, and I admire the work that you've done at F.H. Jenkins, and I admire the work that you've done with the Storm, working with young people that keep the Sabbath and giving them an opportunity to play semi-pro ball, giving people opportunities to get exposure to leagues in Israel where people that want to keep the Sabbath can have a chance to play in Israel. What does all of this stuff mean in the big picture, getting professional athletes to coach and work with SDA institutions? How limitless is the potential? What does all of this mean long term for both F.H. Jenkins and just the Seventh-day Adventist paradigm in the way we view sports?
I'm not sure what it means because we're walking down a path that's somewhat undefined. Mm-hmm. What I can say is that as Adventists, especially with our institutions, we should not be afraid to go out and get the best. Under the proper leadership, and again, I give a lot of credit to Dr. Wood for being open to these new ideas. We went out and got the best that was available to us. A lot of times we're afraid to because they may not be Seventh-day Adventists. Well, the U.S. soccer program has grown, then become competitive, not just because we've gotten better players, but we went out and got a coach from Germany, Jurgen Klinsmann, remember? I mean, he's not even American, right? So the whole concept of we haven't necessarily achieved in our body or our pool of available people. I haven't achieved what Dante Jones has achieved. I've never played in the NBA, right? I've never played overseas or played at a Division I school and gotten the training and the coaching that he has gotten. So if he's willing to work within our parameters and our beliefs, why not go get, a former NBA player who can give our kids the skills that I can't give them, that you can't give them. And it's okay for us to say that, that we want to, provide, and we talk about excellence in every area, not just sports, then we've got resources available to us as long as we're willing to go out and get them. And I think that's really what we should take away from this is that, the possibilities are limitless as long as we stay within what our beliefs are and there's nothing wrong with us going out and getting expertise. And that expertise can actually believe in what we do and what we believe in as well. I will say this, that having Dante Jones doesn't mean that we went and acquiesced to everything that's outside of our beliefs. Right. It does mean that he has come in and embraced a lot of what we believe in. You may be surprised to find out what people actually believe. It may be a lot in line with what we already have established. So I think that's what we can walk away with, that, don't be scared to go out there and get the best for our kids. They deserve it.
Advent Sports Network would like to congratulate Michaela Arthurs on becoming a charter member of the ASN Mentorship and Development Institute. Listen to Michaela cover sports from the perspective of a student athlete on her show, Falcon Pride, taped at Pine Forge Academy in Pennsylvania.
This Riley Freeman, a very exciting but controversial player. Last year, he became the first person to leave elementary school and go to the NBA when the Miami Heat signed him to a $3 gazillion contract, the biggest in league history.
I don't care how much they pay him, Ernie. This kid is a disgrace to basketball. He epitomizes everything wrong with the game today.
Now, Charles, it seems to me that you're hating on Riley because he stacks paper to the ceiling and rides on 24-inch chrome.
Yeah, that's true.
You are listening to the Lance J Radio Show on Advent Sports Network.